Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Did you have a good week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went by pretty fast.
I know this, especially in the summer, it seems to fly by, and then it's winter again.
Not looking forward to that at all.
Me neither. So I know when we met last week, we had a couple things like that you were going to follow up on. We were talking a lot about Bruno and you needing to come up with a plan in terms of speaking with your landlord, because before school starts in September, you wanted to know exactly what was going to happen and what the plan was going to be. So we talked about maybe writing out a letter of some sort, so you know exactly what to say to your landlord when you have to meet with him. And we also talked about maybe looking into the landlord-tenant rights, because I know you were feeling a little anxious about, other families being like quickly kicked out of the apartment, and I felt like because you've been there so long and have a lease that you have some, that your landlord just can't kick you out. And we also talked about something else that you were going to do. It was writing the letter, the landlord. I don't remember. It'll come to me though. Do you remember what it was?
Maybe talking to Ricardo?
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes. So, how have things been going for the last week in terms of the issues with your dog and following up with any of these?
Well, we decided to try and speak to my landlord. I don't know exactly what to say.
Yeah.
I'm still debating that, just like what I do is think of the negative of like, what if I say this wrong, or what if I shouldn't have said that, or how should I even mention there's a dog coming? There's a dog here? Like, stuff like that. But I think I'm more concerned with just the actual day that it happens versus like getting prepared for it, just because that's the hard part is the confrontation, and I don't really do well at confronting people or expressing my true needs or wants all the time.
Can you think of a time in the past when you had to confront somebody and you were afraid of the confrontation? Like, what did you do then that helped you get through it?
I would say probably talking to my boyfriend sometimes. Like, I just knew he wasn't really going to school when he said he was going to school, and it was just kind of like I let a while pass by, and at a point I was just like, are you going to school? Like, it just kind of came out, and I think it was just because it got built up so much in me that at that point I was just like, there was a thing I was just like, are you really going or not? Because this is like, it's my head constantly worrying and stuff like that. And then, obviously we had a conversation about school and stuff, but that's like the one time I remember just speaking up. And I think it was just because I was kind of angry and I was like, how dare you like play around, stuff like that.
So, after you did that, did it work? Like, did you guys talk it out? Did it get to the level of confrontation you thought it would be?
Yeah, I mean, I got out the truth, but it also made me doubt more because it was kind of like a big lie to me, because I really value going to school, and like I think everyone should, or even try to. Like, obviously not everyone's able to, but at least like if you are able to, you probably should be going. That's just like my opinion. Which not everyone's obviously gonna want to go to school, but like if you have nothing else going on, then I think school's the route to go. So in terms of that, I was kind of like mad, and we got out whatever had to be said, but then it also made me worry, and like it gave me some trust issues.
Yeah. So it sounds like because he wasn't honest with you, then you questioned his trust.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the beginning of your relationship?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are things going now? terms of the trust?
I would say it's kind of back, but then there's times where I still go back to, hey, you lied to me, so if I'm doubting something you say, like, don't be surprised, like, you're the one that broke the trust, not me. So when you get the backlash of it, don't question it, type of thing. So, I mean, it's hard because sometimes I'm like, yeah, like, we're all good, and there's other times where I'm like, do I really, like, trust you right now, or do you actually mean what you're saying, because you told me all this story and then not being true. So I guess, I don't know. And it's also like, once you confront someone, you can find out the negative, I guess, like, is that true? And then, I don't know, it's also like, let's say my landlord confronted me, and I was like, well, when did you really get the dog? And I'm just not the person that can, like, easily lie or, like, get by things, so, like, the pressure of knowing, like, uh-oh, like, I've had this dog here. It's hard.
Well, and I think probably having a plan, so that he doesn't have to ask you that, you know what I mean, could possibly help ease your worry. So I think, sorry, my brain. You brought up something interesting about your relationship. Your boyfriend's name is Ricardo. I was going to say Rodrigo. Ricardo. So I guess you bring up this whole trust thing. What areas, what other things have happened that made you question his trust?
Pretty much saying, like, he's going to school. Like, that's what kind of ruined it, because from the moment I met him, he's like, yeah, I'm going to school for this, and that wasn't the case.
But he's in school now.
Yes.
So did he, like, start school and then drop out and then went back because he really was going for whatever he told you he was going for?
He was going to school, and then some stuff happened, I guess, in his life that kind of made him not want to anymore. So he stopped, but he had told me, like, he's been going since the day we first started talking and, like, getting to know each other. So I'm like, he basically sold a whole persona of someone, like, that you weren't, So if I, like, got to know him, like, that version, it's kind of wrong for me to, like, I don't know, it's just, I feel like I was given a fraud.
Right.
Like, that's not who I knew. I mean, it doesn't affect, like, he's a good person, but, like, you still made it out to see me for someone else, and now it's like, am I dating this person or the person you told me? Like, which one is it? Because it's still selling me two different people. It almost feels like.
How did you find out that he was going to school?
I kind of knew because, like, just little things when we talk every day, or just like it wasn't like a normal school behavior. I feel like I've been in school all this time, and I'm like, okay, like, are you going? Do you need? And then he had the nerve to say he goes to the same school I go to, and I was like, how do you go? Like, that makes no sense. Like, during the day, if you're in grad school, then, like, I don't think there's any grad school, like, during the day. Like, there's no parking pass on your car. Like, we all need that. And it was just kind of little things. And I think I kind of knew already. And I was just like, I'm an overthinker. So I was like, okay, just try and, like, give it the benefit of the doubt. Because most of the times I'm just that person that, like, clues everything together. I'm like, I should just probably be a detective because I puzzle things, like, so easily. Or, like, I know what's wrong. Like, I don't have that sense. And so I was just kind of like, oh, so where's the diploma? Or where's your schedule? Like, where's
And these
all
were
this?
questions that you asked him, or these were questions in your head?
Once I, like, confronted him, and I was just like, like, are you really in school? Like, I kind of just played it off, like, are you really? Like, and I kept kind of digging, and that's when he, like, confessed, like, no, I haven't been going to school. And I was like, okay, see, like, I knew it. Like, it wasn't as bad just because I already kind of sensed it. And I was like, yeah, figured you'd disappoint me, but, at least eventually you told me the truth, but it's still creating a lot of doubt in the back of my mind. And I'm already, like, a doubtful person. Like, I was like, oh, but this probably happened. Like, I'm just thinking negatively so often.
Yeah, so like, is it that you, like, you're always thinking negative and you're always waiting for like something bad to happen?
Well, yeah. I feel like I never catch a break, and I'm just like.
Do the bad things really happen? Or is it your thoughts that you perceive things like, oh no, this is gonna happen? Or do bad things really happen?
I
feel like all the time.
feel like bad things really happen all the time. Like I feel like I think about it, but most of the time it's like if one thing's going wrong, there's always something that keeps following it, and I'm just like, okay, this is not just in my head. Like it's generally just having bad luck. It's like I feel like I always have some type of bad luck. Nothing's easy. Like even something as like wonderful as getting a puppy is so good, but then it comes with such a bad like aftermath because it's like he's not allowed in my house. So is it good or bad? It's leaning more towards the bad side for me.
What other bad things you feel like have happened?
I would say it really started with like me finding out about him not going to school, and it just kept like okay, so you're not going to school right now. Oh wait, but you didn't really graduate yet. Like it was stuff like that that just kept coming out little by little, and I was just like, oh my god, like can I catch a break? Like just when I felt like things were settled, it's like a little more of the truth kept coming out, and I think he just wasn't comfortable telling me because he knows I'm like, okay then bye, like you don't deserve me, like I'm more worthy of the truth than for you to lie to me like that.
And it's so good to hear you say that because that's what I was gonna say. Like you know that you're such a good person, you know what I mean? And that your worth and what you deserve. But it also shows you that you can understand like his perspective of how he might feel. It might be an issue for him with his own self-esteem, right? That like I don't measure up, so I need to say I do this, this, and this, which is his issue, right?
Yeah.
And it's nice that like you're able to see both sides to that. How did you like? How have things been? Because you say there's times when things are good, and then times when you question. Like, what things are you questioning?
Well, like, now he started going to school, pretty much, because I caught him and he was like, okay, I don't want to lose you type thing, and I was just like, well, that's a key part, like, I want to date someone that's, making their life better and is going to have a bright future, like, because I'm not busting my behind, going to school and working and babysitting and doing everything to try to, like, have a decent life so that I could partner with someone someday, and for him not to do it, it's, like, not fair, like, if you're going to stick to not school, then we probably should not be together because that's just not what I want for myself, and it's nothing against you. Like, you do what you want, that's fine, but what I want is something different. Whether you choose to go along with it and that's actually something you want to do, good. So, it's back at school, which is great, but then there's still times, like, if we have plans or, like, it says we're going to do something, and at this time, I'm like, okay, you'll be here at this time. He shows up late, or, like, it's not that big of a deal, but to me, time is like a respect thing. And like, if you can't even hold in something simple as time, how do I expect you to follow through to the bigger things? Right. Is my perspective. And he's just like, it's not that big of a deal. It's just 5-10 minutes late. Like, it's no worries. Like, I'm like, yeah, but like, if we have something to go to, you don't know what's gonna happen. Right. During those 5 or 10 minutes. What if somebody has an accident and you're stuck behind them? Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. And that's my part where he's like, you always worry so much. You always worry so much. And I'm like, yeah, that's my anxiety. That's the person I am. I need to like know when everything's gonna happen or like plan out my day. So I'm like, I know it's coming or what I might have to make room for, and not just being like on edge or like rushing places. Like, I don't like that feeling of rushing anything.
So it's important that he's punctual.
Yeah.
And when he's late, is it really only 5 or 10 minutes, or is it an hour?
Well, sometimes if like I'm on my way or we're about to head out, and it'll be like in like 30, 40 minutes later, I'm like, like 10, 15 minutes max from my house.
And what is he doing that he's late?
He'll be like, oh, Bruno pooped or something, and I had to clean it up, like, or my mom asked me to do something. I'm like, okay, then don't say you're heading out if you're not heading out of your house physically, because that makes me think, okay, he's coming in the car, he's coming already.
So what ethnicity is he?
He's Portuguese.
And what ethnicity are you?
Ecuador.
So, do you think that part of his tardiness is cultural?
You know, I don't think so. But like Hispanics are known for being tardy, but I'm not one of them.
No, you're not one.
I'm not one of them. I definitely do not have much of the customs of like that. Like all my friends always say, like, you're not even Spanish. So I'm like, it's just because I don't, you know, like my mom never reinforced like any specific culture.
Right.
She kind of let me do whatever I want. Not necessarily like she still had strict Spanish rules, but you know, she never said, oh my God, you have to know this about it, or you have to love this. Like she basically like let me go to school and like figure life on my own. Like everything I know, I feel like is because of me, or like my sisters. But like I wasn't ever like taught certain things. It was just kind of like you're off into the world. Whatever you take in, like that's you. I always say that. But apparently his mom's also a person who's late, so maybe he got it from her.
Yeah.
But still, like you're a grown person. Like when you have to go to work, you cannot be late. Like when you go to
Is he
school.
late for work?
I feel like sometimes he can run on like 5 minutes late or so. Like he's just like rushing because you know he goes to school and then right after it's work basically, so he doesn't have to be in a rush. But even then, it's like sometimes I feel like he goes late to school, and I'm like, why do you go late to school? You're doing nothing before that. Like go to sleep earlier, do this earlier. I'm like you need to like have an agenda for yourself. Like I feel like if you can't be independent and like really on task, like what are you doing? But he's like thinks life's fine, and he just takes everything more calmly than I do, and I'm just like, you're missing some of the adrenaline or the worry or the thing like that I have. I feel like, and sometimes he acknowledges it, but then other times I'm like, are you making fun of me that I worry? Like it's not nice. Like he's like, you're so anxious. Jesus, like just relax. And I'm like,
Do you think it's a bad thing that he doesn't have anxiety?
no, obviously nobody wants to feel anxious for no reason sometimes, but I feel like he does need a little like worry in his life of something like I feel like
Like
just
fire under him, just
Yeah.
to like motivation, maybe, or
yeah, a little. Or I feel like if I never found out, were you gonna go to school without me? Like, is it because of me? Because sometimes he says I motivate him, but I'm like, I don't want to be the person motivating you. Like, if we don't end up being together in a couple of years, like, are you gonna still keep up with what you're doing, or just because I'm out, you're gonna drop everything? You know, I want it to come from him more than from him thinking, oh, that's gonna make her happy.
right.
Like, I don't want that. And I think he, like, is just gonna not see my side. It's like, I'm doing this for us, I'm doing this for you. Like, no, it's not for us. It's supposed to be for you.
Right.
You know, it's like your independence and stuff. It's not, I don't care. Like, you say you do it for me, it doesn't do anything.
Do you guys talk about the future?
I feel like he does a lot more than I do. I'm more like apprehensive about it just because of what happened, and my trust is still like building on. Like when we first met, I was like, wow, I mean, this is like my person. Like this is cool. Like I could see a future, but then now I'm like, you kind of messed up my vision a little. And I feel like when you first meet someone, like as a girl, you're like, oh my god, he has to be perfect, and you forget that sometimes you are going to struggle, and I feel like I have trouble adjusting to that.
Understandably, though, I think that's a normal reaction. You know, when you feel like trust has been broken, how do you regain that and then not question? You know, and that takes a lot of work on your part and his part. You know, for him to make sure if he says he's going to be there at 3:30, that he's there at 3:30, just to show you that he's following through on his end, and then for you to be able to see that and then start to let go of that, you know, the need to hound him like with things that maybe aren't as that important. You know what I mean? Because it does make you question, you know, everything.
Yeah. Well, I think of like, am I ever going to fully trust him like I used to? Or is it going to take such a long time where will I get tired of being like, when am I going to have that feeling back?
Yeah.
Is that going to happen? whatever, and it gives me more anxiety. And I'm like, you like give me anxiety. Like, he tries to be like helpful whenever I'm just like, you know, I'm not feeling me. But I'm like, you know, it's just a bit why it's getting a little worse sometimes. It's because of you. Like,
How does your anxiety show when things happen in your relationship with him? Like, what is it that you experience that you see as anxiety?
I feel like I can't sleep sometimes. I get like worried.
What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Like, what if he's lying? What if he's lying right now? Like, what if, you know, there's something else that was being kept from me that I don't know because now I'm like trusting you that was it. And what if that's not it? What if in like a year or two I find out something else? Like, you know, like just you play the part so well that I'm like scared that like you're playing it well again and I'm just the fool that's not. Yeah.
And then and this anxiety that you feel, like, is it ever, like, where you feel like you can't breathe, like it ever goes to the physical, or it's just always thoughts?
I feel like there's a knot in my chest sometimes, and it's like an uneasy, and you're just kind of just waiting for like to cry and let it out, or it just stays there, and that's like the worst part. Like at least when you cry it out, it's like you release something, but then when it's just lingering there, I'm like, oh my god, like what's happening? Why do I feel this way? And I try to distract myself, but it's a little, I feel like in your chest and you can't describe.
And crying is a way, it sounds like, that helped you feel better.
Sometimes.
And then when you don't cry, what eventually helps that feeling go away?
I don't really know. I just kind of have to wait it out. Like,
Is there anything you do, like, that you tell yourself, or do you try, like, relaxation techniques, or?
I don't really try that. Like, it's hard for me to do. It's hard for me to relax. I'm always just like a stressed out person. I feel like I overstress myself sometimes. So I don't really know how to relax.
You know, there's a great app on the phone. Have you ever used the apps for anxiety? There's some really good ones. Like if you Google like relaxation techniques, there's some really good ones. There's one that will actually remind you like every day to do like a quiet meditation, like the breathing, where you relax every single part of your body. It walks you through it, and then there are other ones that like will like do breathe, like tell you like inhale, deep breath. They're fabulous, and it might be a good tool for you to explore on the phone, because as soon as you can start feeling that way, you can just put it on, and it could be something for you to use to help decrease that feeling, because it's an awful way to feel when you're feeling so anxious and alone and confused, and you have a million thoughts going through your head. It's a nice way to come down. I'm going to ask you a really strange question. And I hope you have a really good imagination. Do you have a good imagination?
I guess.
All right. So the question is, after we talk today, you're going to leave and go home and, probably hang out with Bruno, maybe go to the pool, it's a beautiful day, or work on your schoolwork, something like that. And then eventually you're going to go to bed, and imagine that everyone in your house is still sleeping. And in the middle of the night, this miracle happens. But the miracle is the solution to your problem, whether it be the trust with your boyfriend or the worries about where Bruno's going, right? So this miracle is gonna happen, and this problem is gonna be solved. So because you're sleeping, you had no idea that this miracle happened, obviously. So when you open your eyes, what's gonna be the first small sign that might make you know that this miracle came about and the problem's gone? Like how would you discover it? What would be different?
What would make my problem gone?
How would you know that it's gone? Like this miracle happened, so either the miracle is that Bruno, you know, if you want to go the Bruno route or do you want to go the boyfriend route with trust, how would you know? Like, you wake up in the middle of the night, you wake up in the morning and overnight this miracle happens. And you wake up, how would you know that a miracle happened? What would be different when you open your eyes?
Well, Bruno would be like freely running around wherever he wanted around our apartment building. That's for sure. I wouldn't worry about somebody seeing him or, finding out he was in my house. And for my boyfriend, I wouldn't have any more doubt. That's how. So
That would be like a wonderful thing.
that would be amazing. I wish it was that easy.
So, I feel like, with Bruno, I feel like I was just thinking in my mind, like, other ways that maybe you can get him to be able to stay with you. And I don't know who you would have to talk to, but is there anybody, like a doctor or someone, that could write a letter, just saying that maybe you have Bruno because of anxiety?
I haven't looked into finding out that information so much. I'm just afraid that online stuff is not so reliable because sometimes they try to just sell you things and it's not worth it. I just want to find someone that knows the laws of just needing an animal with you, for support. But I just don't know if that thing exists of advocates or something for that.
Yeah, I've never dealt with that or experienced that, but I feel like there are doctors who could possibly maybe write something to say that, because of the anxiety you feel, that he's like a therapy dog. I don't know if the dog would have to go through some type of training to actually be a therapy dog, but people have therapy dogs all the time for epilepsy or, anxiety, whatever. So it's a legal thing, and I don't know legally if your landlord could be I don't accept that,
I have to find out more and see, because if I found something more serious, in the legal aspect, then I just kind of wouldn't be able to say much.
Right.
Yeah, it's just finding out where and who and how you can do this the right way. Versus me just opening up my mouth and confessing I'm hiding an animal. That's the difficult part.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too good. In terms of, your anxiety, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst and 1 being hardly ever, how often do you feel anxious?
I would say a 6, 7. It's pretty often. I feel stuff not knowing where Bruno's going will just give me constant anxiety. It's not it ever goes away. It's some days it's higher than the others, but it's still somehow in the back of my mind that's giving me a concern.
So would you say it's an everyday thing where you feel anxiety?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a lot of anxiety, and sometimes I'm just why do I feel this way? I don't want to feel this way. It's just my brain doesn't stop thinking and overthinking and thinking the worst if something happens, or or the feeling in my chest is just there. Sometimes I'm how do I get it out? Just get it to stop, and sometimes I just don't know how to stop.
How long have you had anxiety?
I would say probably around my junior or sophomore year of college it started, but I didn't know at the time I was anxiety. I was learning about it in school, but I didn't think that's what it was for me. I was just why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And I was at symptoms of it is when I kind of figured it out. Like the stress, like, you know, not feeling okay in your chest, like breathing more heavily, like worrying nonstop. Like I was like, this is, I'm pretty sure anxiety. Like, wow, that's what I was experiencing. And it wasn't until like this past year, I say, that I actually noticed that it was getting worse.
And did something trigger your anxiety to start? Like, did anything traumatic happen? Or?
I guess, well, my freshman year, I was hit by a car on the crosswalk, and I was walking to my dorm, and then ever since then, my life kind of changed. You know, I'm anxious to cross the street, to drive sometimes. If the car's like even merging, even though like I'm in the car and like see my little bubble, I still feel like someone might hit me from the side, like that I was impacted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of.
Did you go here no, you didn't come here for undergrad, did you?
No, I went to Portland, so I was upstate.
So you were in Cortland, and then you were crossing the street, and were you like severely injured?
Well, I had a broken teeth, I had a concussion, I was hit on my knee, so that had like scar tissue and swelling and stuff. I had a bulging disc. Pretty much the whole right side of my body was all like banged up and stuff. And then I had like 2 years of therapy for my knee, and then I ended up getting surgery for it as well. I had to have a whole bunch of dental work like the whole summer after that. Like I had to go to the dentist like every week, if not twice a week, just to get everything prepped up.
Your teeth are beautiful.
So I had to, do that, and then I went back to school 5 weeks after because I'm just that person that needs to keep going and leave being behind, even though I was like a semester ahead of everyone. I was still like, no, I gotta keep at that pace. Like I should not calm down. And then like I went back to school, and I probably went back earlier than I should have because I didn't talk to anyone about my feelings in regards to the accident. Like when it first happened, like I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, and like anytime I would talk about it, I would cry, and I'd be like, okay, like I don't want to tell the story, or I didn't want the attention. Like, oh my god, like I heard this happen to you, or like, are you okay? What happened? Like, and it's just kind of like the constant tension from it was just like
Uncomfortable.
yeah,
Sounds like.
yeah, and then just like having to cross the street and like knowing my family's not around. It's like when the accident happened, I had to get taken to Syracuse, which is like another 45 minutes upstate Portland, and then like for them it was like a 5-hour drive. So like if something happens again, or if I got sick again, like something related with it, like my family's not around, and like like I don't trust my friends there anyway. Like they don't know me.
Right.
My family.
So it's not like you'd feel alone not having your family there. Did the person who hit you, did they stay or?
They drove off like a couple feet. I think it was like 50 meters. Yeah. But the kids who were walking near me like chased out of the car and like got it to get out and be like, what the hell? Can't leave and stuff. So yeah, so he was like arrested for the night.
Was he under the influence?
No, he might have been texting, but like somehow the warrant wasn't signed to like search deeper into it and stuff. So yeah.
Wow, that's very like scary. I'm sure, like traumatic. It makes sense why you are worried about crossing or driving. And then you finished your schooling there, and that's when you started to feel anxious. Was after this traumatic event is when you started to have anxiety. Yeah, that's so common and so normal. And to give you some sense of hope is that you can have control over your anxiety. I mean, it's so possible. People do it all the time. They're able to not to use tools to help themselves, and the more you use these tools like the app or changing your thinking and thinking more rational, these are definitely things that we can work on. That your anxiety, if you work at it, can completely subside. It's completely possible. there is hope, and you don't always have to feel that way. So that's a horrible way to have to feel all the time, you know, if it's every day. Are you able to share with your mom or your sisters your anxiety, or do you keep it to yourself? Is there anybody you talk to about it?
I feel like I'll tell my boyfriend about it, but I feel like he doesn't believe in kind of like, you know, all that stuff.
He's laid back.
Yeah,
I mean,
too laid
I
back.
wish that most people could be, you know what I mean? Like for him, it's like, oh, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's true. I think people who don't or haven't experienced it or not educated about it, they don't get it 100%. Do you talk to your mom or sisters?
Tell your mom no. I never really talked to her about any problems I had. It's kind of not my thing. And then with my sister, I'll try, but then sometimes I feel like she makes it worse. Somehow I should just be like, well, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I'm just like, you're not listening to me. You're just telling me what to do.
Making you more stressed.
Yeah, like she'll make me more anxious, or if I do something wrong, she'll just like yell at me. I'm like, okay, then you're not helping. You're making it worse. So I kind of for the most part keep it to myself.
Yeah, and that's hard to like carry that, you know, and not have an outlet. But I'm glad that you're coming here. You know, that's a really good start and a good beginning, because it's important to be able to share these feelings and learn different coping mechanisms, and just to feel better, you know, and not have to carry this weight on you. You talk a lot about your mom. Is your dad around?
No, my parents were like divorced before I was even born,
Wow.
so he's never been around in my life.
And have you ever had, like, have you ever seen him, or?
Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times. Like I definitely would say it's under 50 times at this point, or under 100 at least. It's very
A little.
low. We don't. Like the last time I think I saw him was when my accident happened, which by a miracle he showed up to see if I was alive. But other than that, no, he never really tried. And he like remarried, and my brother and I are 6 months apart. So like, yeah, we were just.
Does he live locally?
He lives in Connecticut.
Oh, so not too far.
Yeah.
And how long ago was the accident? How many years ago?
5 years ago.
That's pretty, you know, recent, not too far. Yeah, that's so hard. So our time is like coming to a close here, but I just want you to, you know, I just want to have a really good plan with you. Because as the weeks pass, you're getting closer and closer to school starting and needing a plan for cute little Bruno. And you've expressed the worry about, you know, what you're going to say to the landlord. And I think that, you know, it might be important too, because I know you mentioned him as being like this old, grouchy Portuguese man.
Yeah.
Maybe you should bring your boyfriend along, and they could like relate at some, you know, at some level, and then she could be like, oh, she's with someone who's Portuguese like me. Maybe he'll change.
Maybe he'll
his
get bribed.
Yes,
For saying yes.
Exactly. But you know, I think again, like playing through what you're gonna say, because him being old and grouchy probably has nothing to do with you. That's just probably who he is. And have you ever been in a situation where like you've had this idea about someone, like, man, they are, you know, whatever, and then you like talk with them and then you leave and you're like, they were nothing like what I thought. Like, you know, they're not really that old grouchy person, you know. But I think having a plan is so important, especially for someone like yourself who likes to feel in control and you like to know what's coming next, and, you know, have that order and assembly, that having it written out already and knowing what you're going to say and revisiting it and saying it as if, you know, like maybe practice in your room in front of the mirror, because the more you say it, the more comfortable you become with it, and then you actually can envision yourself doing it, so that when the time comes, it's like you've done it already a million times and you have it rehearsed. Not to say you're still not going to be pooping your pants or, you know, worried about hearing no, but it will ease some of that anxiety and worry and make you feel like you're more in control. Because that, it sounds like that's what you need in order not to feel so anxious, is that sense of control. And that's really what anxiety is. It's that feeling of loss of control, like you have no control over something.
Yeah.
So if you set it up the right way for yourself, it might help not feel so out of whack. And preparing for the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. And knowing that, you know, even if the worst case scenario happened, that you, as horrible as it is, you are a strong person and that you'll manage. You have support here, you know, you come here, we'll talk about it, we'll work through it, we'll come up with other options. And I'm here to help you get through it.
Thank you. I appreciate
No
that.
problem. So, you know, maybe that's something to think about for next week. And, you know, through the course of the next few weeks, I mean, I appreciate you being so open and honest. It's a hard thing to do, you know, and to trust somebody. And it sounds like, you know, trusting for you is, you know, a big thing. You know, it's important that you feel that way. And I'm glad that you were able to share some things, because in doing that, I'm going to be able to better help you get to a better place. And you're going to learn the tools so that you can help yourself, which is even better. You can leave here and, you know, not need somebody, because you're going to have all these little tools in your tool bag that you can always go back to and say, oh, this is what I can do for this situation or that situation. Okay, so have a great week. Thank you again. It was so good to see you. And I'll see you next week. Okay, thanks. Bye.